Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you all are doing awesome. So today we are diving into the another key concept called your API gateway. So earlier we had one video on like your cross-cutting concern. So today we are specifically covering the API gateway. So we'll cover like what is API gateway, why we need that, and we'll understand with the help of one real world analogy. So you will relate to that, and it would be like help you to easy to understand. And after that, at last, we'll also like try to cover like the one like specific question like how your API gateway handle millions of requests per second. So without any further ado, let's start with the video. I'll see you there. Hello, what's up? I hope my screen is visible. Okay, so what is an API gateway? So an API gateway is like the front door to your backend services, or we can say like API gateway is your like a single entry point for your application. So like how it works, so suppose it basically sits between your client and the backend services. So whatever request you send, it like goes through with your API gateway. Okay, so just understand like we have one client and we have like couple of microservices that could be ms1 to like user orders payment, that could be anything. Or suppose there could be like multiple databases for correspond to your each microservice, but as of just the sake of the example, I just kept it to one. Okay, so like there is no API gateway. So like what's happening here your client must know the like URL of each of the microservice. And if we are just getting the data, and suppose inside each of the microservice we have to handle your authentication, authorization, might be your logging or caching. These all things we have to, because we do not have any API gateway here. We have one client which is sending the request and it is sending on inside each microservice. We are just repeating the some of the stuff like your authorization, authentication, and could be this is one, there could be another things as well. So now your client must know like the URL of each of the microservice in this example. So how API gateway is helping us here? Cool. So it's a thin layer in front of these microservices. Like we have the same microservices. Now we have added this one layer called your API gateway. Now our client will send a request to the only it will go to the API gateway. Now API gateway will forward the request by analyzing whether this is for your orders, this is for your users, and this is for your payment one. Okay, so API gateway will handle those, and all the middlewares like we were writing inside your each of the microservice, we can take that. Where is laser? Yo. So from there we can take all those middlewares and just keep it into the, we can keep inside our API gateway. Okay, so this is the one thing. And what we have next? Yeah. So ओ बारिश हो रही है, बहुत 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 तेज़ की बारिश हो रही है बाहर. आवाज़ आ रही है, सुनो. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so why do we need an API gateway and key functions of an API gateway? Okay, so let's understand the problem. Clients need to know multiple URLs. Like I mentioned here, for each of the microservice, like we have here, your client must know the URL of each of the microservice. So this was the problem. Okay. Uh-huh. Clients need to know multiple URLs. Handles. Client needs to know multiple URLs. Handle different authentication methods and aggregate data themselves. So suppose where is our initial example? Here suppose we are just aggregating the data and getting from different microservices, that we have to aggregate. The aggregation logic we have to implement on the client side. So now you can see our client is responsible for couple of other things as well. बर्डन आ रहा है ना क्लाइंट पे, उसे एग्रीगेशन भी हैंडल करना है, उसे और भी चीज़ें देखनी है, सारी सर्विसेज के यूआरएल भी उसको देखने हैं. क्यों? ठीक है, बट एपीआई गेटवे कैसे हेल्प कर रहा है, लाइक उसके की फंक्शंस क्या हैं? लाइक सिंप्लीफाइज क्लाइंट कम्युनिकेशन. क्लाइंट को इन सब चीज़ों की नीड नहीं है, एक सिंगल एंट्री पॉइंट है. क्लाइंट रिक्वेस्ट करेगा और उसको रिस्पॉन्स मिलेगा. उसको नहीं याद रखना कि कौन सी माइक्रो सर्विस पे रिक्वेस्ट मारनी है. ठीक है. Centralized security. All the security things we can just keep inside our API gateway. We do not need to implement all your security inside your what can I say, each of the microservice. That will keep inside our API gateway. Or in the security, like we can say, or it's like we can also implement the rate limiter and the throttling. That all we can keep inside your API gateway. Cool. Load balancing and scalability, like where we have to distribute the traffic. That is a part of our load balancers. I'll tell you later in the video. But load balancing and scalability, whether you are scaling, so those all things we can keep inside API gateway. Protocol and format translation. Now, suppose your client side is using your HTTP REST and your backend is using might be your gRPC, GraphQL, or might be WebSockets. So you send request and from the backend microservice, it respond in the gRPC. So your API gateway is work as a translator there. It will convert your gRPC to back to the JSON. Then it will send back to the, from API gateway, it will send back to the client. So as you can see how API gateway is working as a translator there as well. Cool. Cross-cutting concerns. Yes, ऑलरेडी मैंने वीडियो बनाई है क्रॉस कटिंग कंसर्न्स पे. अभी थोड़े दिन पहले ही मैंने इसको पब्लिश भी किया था. तो क्रॉस कटिंग कंसर्न्स तो आप यहाँ पे जाके देखना. ये हम नहीं कवर करेंगे इसमें. देखना और बताना मुझे प्लीज़. ओके. सो नेक्स्ट वी हैव improved developer and user experience, which means now our like developers can dedicatedly work on like the pure business logic, and then they can ship their core business logic from the microservices. They do not need to worry about the authentication, rate limiter, and all those things. Cool. And next is a service discovery. Service discovery is something I can say it's not actually inside your API gateway. We can just like use inside your, we can add the middleware, so it will call to the like service discovery, which basically keeps the track of your like the location of your microservices. Suppose our like microservices are the instances, they would be deployed on some of the servers. Okay. So then like what are their IPs, port, all those like which are healthy instances and which are up right now. Those all keep track is like service discovery is just keeping track of all those. Okay. So next, real world analogy. Okay. Office building without versus with reception. Okay, let me tell you one scenario I was talking about in the introduction, like we have one real world analogy. Just give me a sec. Okay, so suppose you are visiting a big tech office building. Suppose inside that you have many departments, suppose 20 departments. That could be HR, finance, or legal, tech, or whatever. Cool. Now there is no receptionist, there is no help desk, no receptionist. Now you will go to each of the department and you will say, hi, I am this. They will ask you for your ID, like tell me who are you, whether you have access rights, what is the purpose, why are you visiting, what is the information you require. You will go to each of the department and you will say these all things to all. You might get the rejections as well. Suppose if some of the department has been moved but you do not know, so you have to look into that as well. Might be you will face some of the rejection as well, but this is a tedious task. You have to handle these all things. But suppose now again you are visiting to the same office, but there you have one receptionist, one reception desk. Now you will just go to the reception. Reception is your API gateway, where you will say, hi, I am this, I need my payslip plus my tax info. Receptionist will say, okay, just be here. It will just check some of the internal things. It will validate your ID, all the rights, it will talk to the HR department or might be the finance department, and then it will take the information from them and it will give it to you. Now as you see, we have one single point, one single entry point. We just request to them and it done all of this stuff, like just gathering the information or aggregation all the things from the backend or whatever, and just giving the like the required information you ask to you. Okay, so see, without API gateway, you will go to each of the department like HR, finance, tech support. But when you have API gateway, you just like the receptionist, you just go to the reception. You will ask for particular things. You are showing your ID. It will go and check for particular things, blah blah blah, and it will come back with a response to you. Cool. Do we have anything else? No. So this was about your API gateway. Now let me tell you like some of the more stuff about API gateway. So for that we have to move to the iPad screen. Just give me a sec. Let me arrange few things. I hope my screen is visible. So okay, so let me tell you about. Have you heard about these terms like your region, or could be like AZs, availability zones? So what are these? So like let me tell you these things first. Like region, you can just relate to like your. It could be like your Delhi NCR. Okay, or Mumbai or Hyderabad or Chennai. And like your availability zones could be the areas we have inside Delhi, that could be CP, or might be some other areas inside that. Those are your availability zones. In Mumbai you can say Bandra. Okay, so these are your availability zones. So now what happens, let me show you on the bigger scale. So suppose this is your one region, and let me tell you one more thing. Now you might be having one doubt, like if your API gateway is responsible for like routing the traffic, like it is just redirecting the your request to the multiple instances of a microservice, then what is load balancer? Okay, so let me tell you, like the load balancer is just responsible for distributing the traffic evenly on different microservices. It is like you're not even a single instance should be overloaded with the traffic. So that's its main job. Okay, that is your load balancer. So suppose inside region we have this, that could be your availability zone. We may have this as well, called your availability zone. Here we have like your API gateway, and here you may have your service discovery. Okay, so let's take this AZ out and understand what we have inside availability zone. Okay, सो लेट यार ड्राइंग को इग्नोर करना, इतना परफेक्ट तो नहीं हूँ मैं ड्राइंग करने में, ठीक है. सो लेट्स अंडरस्टैंड. सो सपोज here, yeah, now we are just trying availability zone. So inside that we have our load balancers, and here we have microservice, suppose one microservice, and suppose these are multiple instances of your microservice. Okay, again we have one more like your load balancer, and that is for your another microservice. So this is your one availability zone. Okay, so this is your availability zone. Now these we have inside a region. This is a region could be your like Delhi, NCR, Mumbai and whatever. This is your service discovery. Okay, so suppose we have like one more. I can just copy paste the above one as well. So let me quickly write, it's not a big deal. These are your LB, these are your microservices, this is another, and we have couple of instances of these microservices. Okay, now here we have one API gateway, and here we have your service discovery, which is communicating with your API. API gateway is communicating with your service discovery. Okay, coffee. So now we can remove this because now we are just on the higher architecture. So now your API gateway, this is your one reason. We have reason, and this is your one reason. We can take this complete as a reason 1, and API gateway is distributing this traffic, which is like API gateway handles like which is your like nearest reason or nearest like availability zone. Based on that it is just routing the traffic, and inside that load balancer is like equally distributing the traffic, so no one server gets overloaded with the traffic or the requests. Now there could be the same picture that we have for this, like your reason easy put the entire reason. I'm just drawing a small here, not the entire one. This is your reason 2. We were saying like our API gateway is the single entry point for the application. Now if we have these two reasons, so how they will communicate, how the request will come to them, and who will identify like where we have to make the request. Have you heard one term called your DNS? Yes. And before that we have client. This is your client. Now your client will make a call to the DNS, and DNS will check like what is the from where the request is coming, what is the nearest region, and based on that region it will redirect the request to particular region, and inside that we have our API gateway, and API gateway will check what is the nearest availability zone. Suppose your one load balancer is not working, this is it got failed, then the request will go to the another load balancer for the particular microservice, and same way suppose this load balancer has also got failed, suppose the entire availability zone is not working now, then the request will go to the another availability zone. So it's not like there is only one instance deployed, there are a couple of instance deployed for particular service load balancer instances for your entire regions or your availability zones. Okay, so this is the entire picture of your API gateway. So here your API gateway stands, or I would say stays. So yeah, that was, so I believe it helps to understand like how your API gateway, or which is like we say like which is our single entry point, and how it is handling the millions of requests per second. It's like it's rerouting. It's very intelligent. Yeah, API gateway is too much intelligent. So it is handling all this stuff with the help of your couple of things together, like your SD, LB, most of the things, like बहुत सारी चीज़ें उसको support कर रही हैं. Okay, that's how it is handling your millions of transactions in a second. Not the transaction, I can say the requests. Okay, so yeah, that was all about your. Have you missed? No, I don't think so. So yeah, that was all about your API gateway. So if I have missed anything, drop a comment. We'll cover that as well. And yeah, that's all for this video. So if you found this video helpful or useful, so don't forget to like, subscribe, or share it with your friends. I will see you in the next video. Till then, keep learning, keep growing. Bye bye.